God does a lot of things in the desert, and I'm so grateful for this season. And a lot
Love
of
it.
people don't miss. A lot of people can easily miss that and give up on God because they're in the desert. But when I've leaned in and pressed in and kept fighting for Him, I feel like I'm falling more in love with Him, actually Him.
So I recently got to have a conversation with Anthony Carrai Jr., a Christian YouTuber who I know God is going to do some great things with. Got to know him a little bit, got to share a little bit of my testimony too. You're going to love this conversation. Check it out. So ladies and gentlemen, Joe Alvarado here, Live Bold. I'm here with my new friend, Anthony Carrai Jr. What's up, man?
How you doing? You doing good?
I'm doing good, bro. Doing good. Hey, as we talked about earlier, so grateful, man, to have you on. I know I've been watching your stuff for a little while now, and your journey to 1,000 subs, man, is so fun.
Almost
So
there.
fun. Almost there.
Hopefully this video will get me over that little
Let's
hump.
get him there. Let's get him there. Come on, let's get him there, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll do and get me to 400. Get me to 5. I'm trying to get to 1,000.
Let's go.
Come on, I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the month. So I'm chasing you, bro. I'm chasing you, man.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, man, I've been kind of admiring your channel from a distance. I love your style, man. I love the fact that it's obvious that you love God. You don't take yourself so serious, but at the same time, you're serious about people knowing who God really is. Right. And like the truth of the gospel, correcting crazy theology that's out there, or crazy perspectives, if you will. And man, I just super grateful. And like we talked about before, man, this is like new for both of us. So this whole interview thing, but we could say we were there at the beginning, sub 1,000. We were there, bro. Right. So we're going to cheer each other on. Again, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself, Anthony Carrai Jr. Okay, I might overuse that. I might overuse that because it's just fun. All right, but
please
it's all
don't.
Good.
I still got it's still sore, and I'm kidding. Yeah, so I mean, right now I currently live outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, but I didn't grow up here. I grew up in New York. And for me getting to here is a crazy journey and story, but yeah, just my whole story. I kind of grew up following Jesus ever since I was a little kid. My parents, being in New York, was raised Catholic, but then they realized they were missing out on an intimacy relationship with Jesus, and so they got saved later on in life. And just seeing their testimony early on, I knew just Jesus was different. And so I remember saying a sinner's prayer at VBS when I was like 6 years old.
Let's go.
I believe then was when I like genuinely started following Jesus. And I think I believe it was a real thing. And, but yeah, ever since then, I've been perfect and I'm not screwed up. I've not sinned, and it's been amazing ever since.
That's what VBS does, bro. It makes us perfect, untouchable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So,
Vacation Bible School, by the way. That's what that's church people say.
Sorry,
stuff like
church
that.
term.
Yes,
there.
church. Whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I grew up, just like a typical kid, addicted to lust, pornography. High school, I was doubting if this whole thing was even real. Is God even real? And had like in college my own little deconstruction, or that was the process maybe of doubt and of what a lot of kids go through. But I would say for me, in high school, I just really genuinely wanted people to know Jesus. And I remember just dreaming about revivals. I remember dreaming about starting a church in my auditorium and just seeing people come to know Jesus.
Your auditorium at school is what you're referring to, right?
Yes. Sick. Yeah. And just seeing all my friends, my varsity team get saved, all that. And so I just wanted to go into ministry because that's what, we were told, or kind of just, that's what you kind of did if you wanted people to know Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, but when I started telling people that, they kind of, a lot of influential people started shutting that down and was like, you're not called, or you're not good enough, or and my parents, who I still love, who I still look up to, who are everything to me, they were just like, let's take a look, because they're super wise with finances and all that stuff. They're like, I'm not going to pay a boatload of money to get an education that you're just going to throw away. Go to community college and figure out what your next step is. And so I did that, and it just very lost, confused, and I was like, okay, God, what should I do? And so at the time, and I just come from a very musical family. My parents met in a wedding band. My dad's a music teacher. And I just could play a lot of different instruments, but I used to always
Nice.
make beats in like class, during class,
Now,
when I went home.
did I hear you say on one of your videos that some of the beats that are on the background of your videos, like the little loops in the back, are those
Yeah,
some of yours?
some of my videos, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha. They're sick, man. They're sick.
yeah, and so
Cool.
I just kind of just did it for fun. I used to make remixes of Lecrae and Dominio. And
Nice.
so as like a young 20-year-old, I was like, now's the time to pursue music if I'm ever going to. And
Yeah.
so um yeah, long story short, I met up with I met this one of my friends at this church night, young adult night service I was going to.
Yeah.
We kind of just hit it off. I was the producer, he was like the vocal rapper singer, and we kind of became this duo. And we kind of in 2017 we made our own EP,
Okay.
and that just people started sharing it, and we started meeting all the right
So,
people.
so it was
And
hip hop. Hip hop.
hip hop, pop, EDM. They're
Gotcha.
like the chain
Gotcha.
smokers versus with like some rap, and we are trying to create a sound in the Christian industry that wasn't really like
Yeah.
popular or even existed.
Okay.
And so because of our sound and music, we were just all of a sudden, and because of the right people, we
Yeah.
just started opening up for all of my favorite artists that I was making remixes for in my bedroom, like Andy
That's sick.
Mineo, Lecrae,
Yeah. Yeah.
Social Club, all these big guys. And in the span of like a year and a half to 2 years, I was in
So like a conference festival would come through,
yeah,
and
conference
you're
festival.
there opening
Yeah,
up.
just do like backstage with these guys, and just crazy. And finally, for the first time in my life, I was getting validation for something. I was
Okay.
finally getting validation of like, hey, this is what you should be doing. Because
Yeah.
all of my friends were hitting me up and being like, man, this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And like, it was just great. But I felt like I was not reaching people the way I wanted to reach people.
Okay.
And and so like and throughout that whole time I was part-time interning at my church in New York.
So this whole part of your story is all the music part of it, right?
Yeah.
So
And so while doing that, I was like I would go out, tour, whatever, come back to my local church, and I really like, and I honestly, dude, I'm realizing this over the last couple of weeks, even.
Okay.
Just the community that I've had there,
Yeah.
that I just was like, oh my, like I just wanted to keep coming back there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so
That well, here, let me pause you right there, because we were getting to know each other, right? Like we just hopped on a call. We said, hey, let's do this. I have a background in music too. We hadn't talked about this before, but late 80s, early 90s, we just talked about how we're 2 decades apart, right? My man's gonna be 27, I'm 47. Let's go, right? Wait. All right. I don't even know.
I wish I could play my sound.
I don't even know when to use that. But anyway, but I grew up in the church too, and music was a big part of my life as well. In the church, we loved hip hop growing up. And there were, man, I'm gonna throw out some names right now that I know you have no clue about, but a Stephen Wiley, a Preachers in Disguise, PID. There was like Gospel Gangsters. You could find a lot of these on Spotify.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
the
crazy,
the first Christian rap artist I knew was Lecrae.
Yeah, so that was after I retired, bro. So
yeah.
So anyway, we were. So this was our name, late 80s, early 90s. Are you ready for the name? It was God's New Creation. That's what we were called, bro. Come on.
That's fire.
God's New Creation, yeah. And then we later changed it to Candle, but we were like a PM Dawn hip hop / DC Talk influenced band. So we had hip hop and vocals, so hip hop pop band. You can still find it on Spotify, Candle with a K. So we still have some music up. But man, I'm loving this conversation because we kind of have the same thing going on growing up in the church, but 2 decades apart, man. Music has been a big deal for me too. So that's good.
Yeah.
What else you got?
So, I mean, long story short, I was in like 2018, I come back from like doing like a huge big conference, and just feeling like, man, something is missing. And then I go and I was scheduled to preach at a young adult night service. And I preaching in front of those 80 people, I would like something sparked in me of like, man, I need to go deeper. I need to reach people for Jesus.
Yeah.
And the way we were doing it, like I personally don't love the celebrity lifestyle that we were getting and the attention and I know like and when I was in my early 20s at the time, like I didn't know how to process that or handle that.
Sure.
My mental health was really bad. I didn't know like how to navigate all that terrain. It was just kind of thrown in, like I was thrown into it, and obviously I wasn't this like celebrity. You didn't know who I was until you found me on YouTube, so I wasn't anything special. But the little bit I was,
but
tasting,
you were doing your thing, man. You were opening up for some major artists. Yeah,
yeah, and so just that I just couldn't mentally handle it, and but I really wanted to reach people for Jesus. Like that's just been the common thread in my life, and so so I felt like God at that point was like, hey, I want you to just follow me. I want you to leave music for a time. And I'm like, okay. And that led to like 6 months of like, because finally I built my not identity, but I was finally getting validated for something. People liked me for something I was doing. I felt like, regardless if I was not okay on the inside, like the outside affirmation was so high.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had to follow where he was leading me.
Yeah.
And then, so in 20, so by the end of 2019, I'm like not full-time ministry, but I'm in, just going, just doing a bunch of different things in ministry, but I didn't have my like full-time spot. I wanted to be preaching. I wanted to be teaching. I love communicating. I love doing what we're doing right now. I love communicating the gospel. And so then COVID hit, right? In 2020.
Kind of changed.
And so I was like, God, what are you doing? Like, I thought you were going to have even bigger plans for me. And at that time, I was really trying to become this Rich Wilkerson person. And I would love to get to just even like what God's been showing me recently in all that. But yeah, I wanted to be this Rich Wilkerson, building this really big and a really good thing, but I wanted to be him.
Yeah.
And I'm just using him as a figure.
Sure.
Like, but yeah.
Somebody who influenced you or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm not like in love with everything he says or agree with that, but like that type of.
We always have to say that as YouTubers, by the way, too. Right?
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything, but hey, there's some good stuff here, right? Yeah.
To me, he's super creative, and he has and just the church culture and organization that he has, felt like I need to replicate, because that to me was reaching people for Jesus. And so and so in 2020 I wanted to get married. Long Island, New York is super expensive to live. So we were looking at the time, we were just looking to like make a living, try to get married, all that stuff. Long story short, we find this church where I'm at right now, and it's a small town, rural town, North Carolina. And I just was like, one moment led to a couple of confirmations. Was like, okay, this might be the next step, and it kind of doesn't make sense, but this is where we felt like I was leading. And so we get in a month and a half, we kind of plan a wedding, and this was during COVID.
Okay.
And so me and my wife, at the end of 2020, we get married. We go to Disney for a honeymoon, and we come back and we move 500 miles away from all our friends and family to a small town in North Carolina.
Okay.
And so like literally when I say God literally detoured me into a desert, like he literally did that. And for the last 2 years, I feel like I've been stretched. I've been growing. God does a lot of things in the desert, and I'm so grateful for this season. And a lot of people a lot of people can easily miss that and give up on God because they're in the desert. But when I've leaned in and pressed in and kept fighting for him, I feel like I'm falling more in love with him, and understanding a lot of misconceptions that I believed about following, all this different stuff. And also even misconceptions about the church too. And because I fell in love with the big show, the big production
Yeah.
of church, and
Yes.
because I came from that music background, but I just wanted to do it like Jesus-y and have these emotional messages and these amazing worship experiences, which aren't bad,
Right.
but for me, that's what I wanted to create.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing the heart of actually Jesus just wants us to make disciples, and relationships is the most important thing, and
I love that because
community.
yeah, and you actually you talked about that on one of your videos because one of the topics that came up was like, does it have to be this big show or is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
just fluff, right? You know,
yeah, yeah,
and so it makes sense your heart just kind of hearing the story behind it a little bit deeper, why you
yeah.
feel the way you do.
And I
So,
don't think like, and I think my approach is more nuanced. Like, I don't think those are bad.
right.
I just think when the church misses the Great Commission and the
Yeah.
Great Commandment,
Yeah.
I think and what that actually means, not just like,
Yeah.
because discipleship to me was always like either add on
Yeah.
to a Christian
Sure.
instead of, yeah, you're a Christian, that means you're a disciple, you're apprenticing under Jesus. Like, that wasn't always communicated to me early on. But yeah, like just the just the I just fell in love with the programming of church.
Yeah.
And I thought that would reach people, and then I'm like, no, it's it's discipleship,
Yeah.
it's equipping people. And so yeah, I mean,
Love that. Love
yeah,
that.
I think that's where and even the church that I'm at now, we've been really focusing on that. And
Okay.
how do we actually equip people to actually follow Jesus,
Yeah.
and not just, yeah, inspirational messages are
Sure.
great, but how can we actually see transformations,
Yeah.
spiritual formation in the church, and yeah, all the above. So
No, that's great. And I could identify with a lot of that because I think, you know, I had mentioned to you earlier that back in, I think it was 2008, 2009 is when I felt God calling me to pastor an English congregation. I had grown up in my dad's church with Spanish language. So también hablamos en español, mi hermano.
I
You know,
have no
yeah.
idea.
We also speak in Spanish, my brother. But he grew up in a Spanish church and just felt called. Like I would always tell my dad, we should do this and we should do that. We should do this. You know, had this like my own vision. And one of the leaders in our denomination said, you have your own vision. I think God's calling you to plant a church because you can't force yours on your dad's, right? And so after a lot of nah, you know, I finally surrendered and said, all right, God, we're doing this. Hey, if you want to hear more of this type of content, please hit the subscribe button, comment, share, like, all of the above. Check out Anthony's channel. Hey, we love God and we want to keep doing this.